Hi, Professor. It's Maria. And this is my reflective video. So I'm just gonna jump into it. I'm really bad at doing like video formatting stuff. So sorry. But anyways, the first question, what do you notice about your ideas for reading and literature? Like what's changed and stuff. After this class, I think the biggest thing that really stood out to me, that like other classes haven't really emphasized, is that there's a lot of different formats that you can teach literature through. And I don't just mean like online, in person, stuff like that. I mean more there's a lot of different ways to engage the students. And I think when you're a teacher, it's really easy to fall into the pattern of like every day you're standing in front of the class and you have a PowerPoint and you're basically just lecturing, they take notes, and then it's a test and that's the unit. But in this class, first of all, I had so much fun with this class. Like I thought it was genuinely so fun. Because it made me feel like a student, which I am a student, but it made me feel like a high school student again. And it also made me realize like there's a lot of things that I did in high school that I thought were really fun, and there's a lot of things that I can do as a high school or middle school teacher that are really fun. Like I know we did like the four corners assignment that day, not assignment, but you know what I'm talking about. We did like group work, we did book club. Like that is so much fun, and that really stood out to me. Because you don't want to fall into a boring or repetitive pattern. Like it's good to have consistency with students, but you don't want to fall into like a boring pattern when it comes to teaching literature. On top of that, I think something that really stood out to me in this class was like how many different mediums you can have when it comes to teaching literature. Um, like I know going into it, especially, first of all, I'm sorry, I'm like scattered. I'm always scattered when I do video assignments. But going into it, I kind of tend to just think about my high school experience, which was a lot of essay writing, which I personally enjoy, obviously, because I'm going into teaching literature, so of course I enjoy like essays and stuff like that. And for me, I was really good at writing essays. I still am pretty good at it. Like in high school, that was like my thing. It was creative writing and essay writing. And the essay writing thing, sorry if I'm rambling, but to me, like this is important. Other students would be doing bad on them, especially like when we got to AP Lit. And I would tell them, like, well, it's just a formula. Like it's literally just a formula. It's like a claim, and then it's, it it was more complex than that because like when it comes to AP Lit, it's like a higher scoring rubric. But I remember like every time I went into writing an essay, I just looked at it like it's basically just this rubric in my mind of how I do this in order to get the most points possible. And it was fun to me because I'd go into it and I wouldn't be worried about like how am I going to get a lot of points. It was more like, okay, what am I going to talk about and how am I going to shape that into like what it needs to be in order for me to get a good grade. So like that formula has always been in my mind and it makes sense to me when it comes to like literary analysis. And so coming into this class, this has been like a huge ramble and I'm sorry, but coming into this class, I kind of just I thought of teaching literature as like, well, there's essays and stuff like that. But it made me realize like if you can create this formula that goes into writing an essay, you can take all those steps and put it into some other type of creative project that embraces and like uplifts students with different learning abilities and like learning types, like people that are more visual learners or people that are maybe more visually creative or maybe people that are they like talking through things. If they're still hitting all those steps, you're still preparing them to write an essay as long as you do eventually lead into that. And so I hope that makes sense, but like it really made me realize that like a summative, I had to think about it because I always get those two confused, formative and summative. But a summative assessment it doesn't have to be an essay. And it doesn't have to be a test. It can be a poster board that has all the components of an essay, but that some students might like more. Anyways, I'm gonna move on because I'm taking up way too much time yapping about this. But the purpose of reading and literature classes, I think that just goes back to my first answer. I mean, of course, as somebody who loves literature, I have a stress ball, sorry, but as somebody who loves literature, I always think like, well, of course, you're like teaching literature and like the classics and things like that. but it goes deeper than that, you know what I mean? When you get to college, I think your English and literature classes are the most important classes you took in high school, because those really prepare you for college in a way. Maybe not really, but in a way. Um, so I think the biggest thing is that it's just teaching them like how to read, how to write, and in a way how to think. There's a quote by, I think it's George Orwell, who's one of my favorite authors ever. And it said, if people cannot read well, they cannot think well. And if people cannot think well, then others will do their thinking for them. That's like indirect, like off the top of my head, so I might got some of that wrong, but that's the gist of it. And I think that's so important, because it's kind of like, it really makes you think, like, when you're in an English class, you're not just teaching these kids how to read and how to write. You're also teaching them how to think about what they're reading and writing. And in a broader sense, like literally you're teaching them how to think. And so, that if you're not teaching them that, then you're not teaching them a skill that they can carry with them into other disciplines and other subjects and other parts of their life. What insights do I have about teaching and learning in secondary language arts classrooms? Honestly, like, I've been yapping so much, I feel like it just kind of carries over from the first two questions. Like, just, I think the biggest thing that, like, the insight that I've carried is that there's not, like, one way to teach English and literature, and sometimes unconventional means of teaching it will help certain students the most. And like the biggest thing for me after this class is realizing that like it is not only acceptable, but it's actually really cool if you give students options, because like first of all, it allows students to play to their strengths. They're still hitting all the components of the state standards that you need to be teaching. And then like third, they're going to have fun learning. And that's so important. Like if students aren't going to have fun learning, they don't want to be there. It's that simple. So yeah. What overarching questions do you still have about teaching literature? I think, like, the biggest thing that still plays in my mind, and this isn't really something that can be answered, I don't think. Maybe it can, not easily. It's like how, and this, like, and it doesn't really have to do with literature, but it's more just like, I get really anxious about it. I think, like, how long is it going to take for teaching to feel natural to me? Because I love the idea of it, and I love making lesson plans. I love literature. I love the things I'm going to be teaching. I love the state standards. I'm like so enthusiastic to be in front of a class. I'm constantly telling the people in my life, like, I can't wait to have a classroom, and I can't wait to have students, and I can't wait to be able to teach them. But I still get anxious. I'm like, because now, even when I did my micro teach, I was a bit anxious, and it did feel like a little bit unnatural, just because I'm not used to it. Like, I'm not putting it too heavy on my mind, but it's just kind of like, I know that there will come a time, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, where it starts to feel natural. And I think the question in my mind is kind of like, when is that going to happen? And that's not really something that can be answered, but it's just something that like, and I get excited just thinking about like, that will happen, and it's just something to look forward to, a day where I walk into a classroom and I just know, like, I'm in control. I know what's going to happen. Everything is like predictable. That's never going to happen. Nothing is ever going to be 100% predictable, but I feel like you get what I'm saying. Hopefully. I'm talking to a screen, so, but anyways, that's my desk chair. It's really loud. I'm sorry. I'm like so distracted. But, and then the last thing, I'm gonna just finish this. The last thing, what do you most love about being a teacher of literature? It's the thing that brought me into the idea of, like, teaching English, is that, I love literature. I love the English language. I was initially studying journalism when I came to college. I fully thought, ever since the 8th grade, I thought, I'm going to be a journalist. I was in my first semester of college when I realized not only was that not going to happen, I was not interested in that, but it, like, occurred to me that I really wanted to be a teacher. If you had asked me at any point in middle or high school, are you ever going to be a teacher? I'd be like, maybe as a last resort. Like, not to be rude, I can't be rude, I'm being a teacher now, but like, that's the way I felt about it. I didn't think it was something that I would ever have any interest in, but what drew me to it was I got to college and none of my classes were literature classes. I was studying all these communication classes to be a journalist, and I realized that that wasn't my passion at all. I had no passion for that. My passion was literature and English, and it started to like occur to me that there was nothing that would make me feel happier and more fulfilled in life than every single day standing in front of a class and teaching them how to also be enthusiastic about literature, how to understand it, how to love it. Um, and so, like, that has always kind of carried me towards my goal of becoming a teacher. On top of that, it's also, I had so many amazing secondary literature teachers, English and literature teachers that completely changed my life. And I thought, like, if I can do that for even one student, that impact is incredible. And so that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about teaching literature. I'm excited for the little moments, like when students have aha moments and they understand things. Sorry, I just hit my desk with my knee. When students have like aha moments, I'm excited for the books I'm going to be able to teach, you know, the novels. I'm excited for the poetry. I'm excited about everything. And I, you know, right now I think that's what I'm really excited about, especially because I think reading is slowly becoming less and less of a common activity that people like to do. So being able to encourage that and being able to hopefully lead students towards enjoying that, it just gets me so excited. Like, I'm excited about every aspect of being well, maybe not every aspect, but almost every aspect about being a teacher I'm excited about. So, yeah, I think that's it. It's been an amazing semester. I am so happy that you are my professor this semester. This was my favorite class. I'm not just saying this, like, to, you know, compliment you. Like, genuinely, this was my favorite class this semester, and I'm just so happy that I had it. I'll tell you what, I feel so much more secure about the idea of going into teaching, English specifically, after taking this class than I did before. Like, before I was constantly worrying, like, am I even going to be a good teacher? Is this, like, really what I knew it was what I wanted to do, but I was so anxious. I'm a very anxious person, and I was just so anxious. Like, maybe I'm not going to know what I'm doing at all. It's so scary. And that's still, like, I know I'm not going to know everything, but after this class, I feel a lot more confident, and that is entirely because of the way you taught this class. So, thank you. It was a great semester, and bye.